Amari freaking Cooper. Not a big fan. Not a big fan. Not a big fan at all. Welcome to That Helps No One Fantasycast on Crier Media. This is the fantasy football show for people that have come to complain this week. I will be doing a lot of it. I am now out of the championship because of a stupid 48-point fantasy performance from a guy that, well, he plays for the Browns, and somehow Joe Flacco made him popular for 1 week. And then, of course, in true fantasy football fashion, he decides that he's going to be injured for this week, which is okay because the Cleveland Browns just clinched the playoffs, and our boy Teddy is quite happy. Boys, welcome to the show. Ted, obviously, congratulations. Your actual football team is in the playoffs, and that's better than fantasy football.
100%.
Nice.
Yeah, 100%. Wild week for football in general, but yeah, that was a big clinch tonight, that's for sure.
And then obviously Steve's Ravens are going to be in the playoffs also.
Yep, been chasing them all year.
Different
team.
Different sitch over there. Steve, welcome to the show as well.
Great Christmas present. You know, those games always stress me out. You're playing against like another really solid team. It's Christmas, so you know you're going to be around your family, and you don't want that weird side of you to come out where it's like every other word's a swear word, and like you get up from the table because you're like, no, I'm watching football. You know, those kinds of stuff always, you know, stress you out when your team is playing primetime, but
because you're half there.
Yeah,
you're only half there.
It's like listening to you in baseball season, basically. Same thing.
Yeah, you've never done that once in your life, so you wouldn't know what that's about.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair. That's fair. Let's get the pleasantries out of the way. That hurts, by the way.
Can we just I think we should talk about that Ravens-Niners game for like
just wait.
It feels like forever ago, but yeah, if we're just going to skip over it.
No, we're not going to skip over it. Just got to get to the fun stuff first. So you can follow along. You can even get in the group chat. Man, my microphone is like super loud today. On Twitter, again, after like 3 years, apparently.
See what happens when you put host by his name?
Yeah, I get to do things. So you can talk to... Shut up. You can talk to us on Twitter, on the group chat, on our YouTube, on my Twitter, on the Crier Media one. So we got a few ways to get at us. Even if you don't have like sit-start questions, maybe you just want to complain about how you lost in the fantasy playoffs like I did, and we can just be a support group to each other. But yeah, let's get back to the Ravens. I think that's what we were talking about.
Yeah, well, what a statement game. There's all this talk about like Brock Purdy MVP. You know, is he gonna like put up or shut up in this game? Like, I don't know how anybody was taking the Ravens lightly in this matchup. Like, I saw like a decent amount of people having the Niners in this one, but man, they already got beaten by the Browns in this division. I feel like, you know, Lamar and the Ravens were going to be coming after him. This one, they just exposed the guy. So they not only did they lose twice to the same division, but he couldn't even complete the game. And like those MVP votes are like long out the window. And if Lamar didn't seal himself for even more of an MVP candidate to win the whole thing this year, then I don't know what else he's got to do. So yeah, huge win by the Ravens in that one. That was fun to watch that game.
He was bossing in that game for sure.
My favorite part of those things is when it absolutely destroys the internet for a while. Like Ted said, Brock Purdy is having a phenomenal season. I think he's still got to be in the MVP conversation race. But like you said, when you get exposed on Christmas Day, there's nowhere to hide when, you know, he didn't just have a bad game. Like, he cost his team the game when he's playing against a top level defense. So before the game started, I predicted a very close game. I thought it was going to be a tough game. I can fully understand why the 49ers were the favorites. They're a good football team all across the board. They're at home. They're rolling. I get it. There's just something about when you call the Ravens underdogs.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, they've just got this kind of like chip on their shoulder. Like, fine, I guess we have to go out and prove something. And they did it again, and it was so glorious to watch.
Which is interesting because you think, like I said, I've said this a few weeks ago, like I've been watching a lot of Ravens ball this year, had a lot of fantasy reasons to be watching them. But I mean, if you want to call them an underdog, if you had to put a tag
Yeah.
on it or a title on it, I mean, yeah, the Niners have been basically the team to beat for a while. You know, their offense has just been an absolute just cannon. Their defenses look good, you know, the whole Brock Purdy thing. But then you get into that game, and I'm thinking, like, man, this game could be an absolute slugfest. And there's parts that weren't necessarily pretty. I mean, there's a few things in that game I think as a Ravens fan you'd probably like to forget, you know, like safety or tripping over referees and all those sorts of things. But what a game! Like it ended up being just like an absolute just.
That was another one that I don't know about you guys. Like, we've all been watching football a long time. I have never seen anything like it. And of course, like, my brother's watching with me. He's a Ravens fan as well. My dad's a 49ers fan.
And that I didn't know. That's hilarious.
Yeah, my brother's losing his mind because he's like, "Are you kidding me? Like, you can't trip the quarterback and cause points." And of course, Ravens flock is in shambles. They're like, "This is such bush league. Like, how do you call that?" And I'm like, "What? What are you gonna do from it?" And I love how the Ravens kind of like, if for once I actually wasn't really like super upset by like this freak play. I was giggling to myself. I was like, what else are you gonna do? Like, you got 2 points out of it. It's a freak thing.
Yeah.
And then everyone was freaking out further, being like, this ref is smiling. Like, how are you an NFL ref? And dude, he's trying to backpedal Lamar Jackson out running, and he's going to be a meme for the rest of his life. Of course he's going to be smiling. Of course he's going to be giggling.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want out of this guy? Like, it's a thing.
What they could have done, and I mean, I think if this was kind of one of those not necessarily game deciding plays, but had it been a lot closer, I mean, would you not just kind of like call that like a wash play and just replay the down?
Yeah, though. So there's a game that I'm thinking of somewhere in like the 3 years ago. It's the Lamar Jackson cramp game where he was playing against the Browns. He had to leave. The poop game, right? Where he was kind of waddling and everyone. Anyways, so it's that game we're talking about. When he comes back onto the field, there's a fourth down play where he's got this open lane and he's just going to rush for the first down, but instead he lobs one over to Marquise Brown, and Hollywood grabs the ball, starts running. The Browns defender is like going right at him, and Hollywood actually uses the referee as kind of
I know
like
exactly the play you're talking about.
Like, look this play up. He uses the ref as a pick to score the game-winning touchdown. And I'm like, how soon do we forget that those things happen oh so frequently? If this game was 10 o'clock on a Sunday where most of the world isn't watching, unless you're a Niners or Ravens or just...
It gets lost in the fray.
It gets lost in the fray, but because it's so highlighted. And I love the way the Ravens rallied from it. Nobody seemed upset about it. No, it didn't get under anyone's skin. Like, that's got to take some serious resolve to ground yourself, being like, we literally just got 2 points taken away from us.
Mm-hmm.
Just go win the game.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I can't remember who the player was that that got blocked by the stripes on that one too. But I remember it so vividly, and like, I bet you if you were to look for footage somewhere, you'd probably find footage of that same guy who got blocked, sort of laughing about it after the fact, right? Because he got up and he was just like, what else can you do at that point, right?
He's like trying to get out of the way. The funniest part was like, dude, why didn't you just stop running? Like, you were not going to beat Lamar Jackson in a sprint while you are backpedaling. Like,
yeah, and he was backpedaling too. He was running for like 20 yards back, wasn't he? Like, it was crazy.
Just
stop,
drop, open up shop.
Yeah. So dominant performance by Baltimore in that game. Like, I'm just looking at Purdy's stats. So yeah, it was like 18 for 32, 255, and 4 picks.
That's not good.
It's just like absolute exposure. And then Cleveland went after him a completely different way. I can't remember what week it was. Way back in like week 6, Purdy was 12 for 27 with 125 and a TD, right? So what is it about these defenses that are like just giving the 49ers absolute fits? And this has to be the archetype now for teams that are going to be playing them moving forward.
I think it's a combo of, I mean, it's got to start up in the trenches, right? Like, I didn't watch the Browns 49ers game, but I've watched enough Browns, especially this year, to know that D line creates pressure without blitzing, right? There's something to be able to have a 4-man rush where you're not, adding a fifth, adding a sixth guy, getting pressure. And then, I mean, how long is a quarterback able to hold the ball for, right?
Mhm.
I think 2.5 seconds is kind of the number for it. So if you're getting pressure in before that and you're disrupting the routes, and I mean, I know Cleveland also has a good secondary. Ravens have a good secondary. They've just, I mean, to his credit, these are probably two of the top 3, 4, 5 defenses in the entire league, right? Like he's not getting blown out by like, I don't know, Washington's defense right now or something.
Mhm.
But those are the teams that he's going to have to, put
Yeah,
himself
that's
up against to make that MVP. And then you look at Lamar. I mean, Lamar's been giving people fits all season.
yeah, they're dominating the teams that they should dominate for sure. I
Mhm.
don't think that's the question for sure. But yeah, I mean, looking in like today's game, I think they were saying it was Simeon was at 1.9 seconds per throw. That's what he had to be at to get rid of the ball in time.
That's ridiculous.
And they came with pressure on the outside. Like they closed in. They kind of like wrapped them. Like Myles Garrett is just a freak.
Contain.
So, and he's not even the guy doing all the work either.
Not
And
for the last 5 weeks, yeah.
You know what I mean? So like they don't have to rush up the middle. They're getting all the pressure on the outside. And if they're still getting there in 1.19 seconds from the outside, that's scary, man. That's a longer way to go.
Yeah.
That's frightening.
So
Yeah,
I know. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Steve.
I just think Shanahan's a good enough play caller that he will have enough time in between these to look at these defenses and say, like, okay, if the Browns are only giving us and the Ravens are giving us less than 2 seconds, well, we need to go into our bag of tricks for underneath routes, for screens, for quick releases, get the ball out of our hands, get McCaffrey running, have it 3rd and 2 as opposed to 3rd and 7, 3rd and 12, I don't know. And just using a lot of that underneath stuff because they've got the weapons in Ayuk and Debo and McCaffrey and Kittle, and the list just goes on and on and on with that team.
So if you play a team like that, if you're the Niners and you play, let's say that's another rematch, right? Let's say that's the Super Bowl. It's not going to be pretty. You're going to have to be doing checkdowns. You're going to have to go Peyton Manning season on them basically and just check down. Just get small plays and get your first downs, right? Like you might have to just play a game that isn't pretty. Like you can't be going for big plays. They're like, listen, we just need a first down.
Okay.
10 times, but that's what you'd have to do, right? Like it's that's a different game plan. Like you might not get to be the the West Coast Express kind of thing and just let her rip. You might just have to play ugly football to win, which
like, don't you feel like that has to happen though if you're going to play a team like the Niners with so many weapons? Like you have to wouldn't like a 10 first down drive would be just the absolute dream. I mean, imagine how much time would be eaten off the clock doing that.
That's like a whole quarter.
Yeah, imagine throwing a Ferrari in a mud bog, right? I mean, that's the kind of stuff that you're dealing with there, and I don't think any Niners team wants to see that at all.
That's why Porsche has the Targa.
Yeah.
So
it was great, obviously, watching Baltimore break the internet on Christmas Day. I feel like weirdly connected, Baltimore stays connected because Joe Flacco has been breaking the internet the last little bit here too. I know you were a big Joe guy forever, and I know watching him for all those years, him just like demolish us with his like ridiculously good play action, and like why are you biting on this all the time, right? And you got to realize how good he is nuanced when he's there doing it for you. But like, what are your thoughts on the whole Flacco thing? I mean, do you have like a soft spot, or is it like Joe, you're the enemy? Like, I'm curious how Raven fans in general are thinking on this one.
It's obviously a huge topic on social media, and as to be expected, there's a lot of fans that will just always support him, right? There's that nostalgic piece where it's like, he brought us a Lombardi, he was the MVP, he went on that historic run. He's always played good football in December, January, like they call him January Joe for a reason. He already won a Super Bowl with us. It's neat to see a guy who's almost 40 years old come off the couch and just start slinging the ball. Like he looks like he's having the time of his life. You have, for the person himself, you have to feel good for him. You have to love those stories, even if it's a division rival. But as far as the Browns winning, I hope they lose every single game. It's just that's a simple thing. If you could have a perfect world where Joe Flacco throws for 300 yards and 2 or 3 touchdowns, and somehow that defense still gives the game up, or something weird happens, like I'm all for it. Like I love to see him do well. but I'm never going to cheer for the Browns just because a player's on there, right?
Yeah, for sure. I was just curious about the Flacco piece of it, but that's cool. Yeah, it's good to know that.
I got my jersey in the closet, but that one's staying away.
So we were talking about the Browns game right before we went on here, and how Flacco goes off in the first half for, what did you say, Steve? 200 and how many yards?
I think it was 296 and 3 touchdowns.
Right, and then in the second half, he had like 15 yards and nothing. So we called that the Aiden O'Connell game. In the second half.
See, Aiden O'Connell half, yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of, like, you look at the Raiders and they upset the Chiefs, and I think they said he had like he didn't have a positive passing yard in the second half or something like that, or
three quarters he did not have,
and they didn't score a touchdown.
Yeah, they didn't score a touchdown,
and they beat the Chiefs. Like, now I'm starting to look at like the Chiefs, like they're about to just like, they'll make the playoffs, but then they're going to get killed. Like, this team is falling apart in front of everybody, which is, I mean, hey, that's the NFL. You can be the best team and you can be a playoff team the next year and get absolutely slaughtered. It happens all the time. But this is one of those where you look, you're like, wow, Pat Mahomes, like, he's doing kind of Pat Mahomes stuff, but he just looks like he doesn't have his targets like he normally has.
He doesn't have any help.
No. But it's like, it just looks like all of a sudden it's up to him now to make everything happen. Like, Kelsey doesn't quite look the same. Like, Rashee Rice looks great. I mean, Pacheco has been out, and they've got a lot of injuries on that team. I get that. But, I mean, their defense has been good enough, but it's almost like, you know, you joke about defense wins championships. It's almost like the defense somehow has to be, you know, ready to go for 4 quarters, like, consistently. I don't even think that's possible. So, I mean, going to the playoffs, the Chiefs are going to get absolutely hammered.
I don't know if you can just sell them out like that right off the bat. It's still the Chiefs, right? I mean, they still Reid. They still know how to game plan, right? I mean, is there cracks in the foundation? Yeah, but I mean, that's still a nasty piece of business if they get rolling and the things start firing with those guys. I mean, I wouldn't take them lightly, is what I'm saying. I think you still have to put up like the championship Chiefs if you're going to be playing them.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see the Chiefs going away. You see teams do this you see regular teams kind of do this all the time. I say regular teams because you take a team like the Chiefs who have been a dynasty. Yeah, they're a dynasty. You take a team like the Patriots and their dynasty. Yeah. You don't expect them to falter like they have. Okay, they lose a game, then they're going to go back and win 2. We haven't really seen this out of the Chiefs yet, which is kind of interesting. Usually, KC loses a game, and then you're like, well, they're so well coached that they're going to bounce back. Like, they never lose 2 in a row. Okay, they've lost 2 in a row. Oh, now they've lost 3 of the last 4. Oh, they've lost like 4 of the last 6.
Mm-hmm.
The Ravens Super Bowl run in 2012, I think they lost like 4 of their last 5 games, and everyone was like, this team is a joke. There's no way they're going back there. Really, all you need is to get hot in the last couple weeks. All the timing pieces come back, and like, I'm sorry, that's too good of a coach team, too strong of a defense, and Pat Mahomes and Travis Kelce. I will put them against any team. I think they're going to beat the Bengals this week. They're going to beat the absolute tar out of the Chargers in the last week. They're getting into the playoffs. They're going to get hot, and they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. Like, it's fun seeing them become mortals, right? Like, we joke about how they're mortals, but it's fun seeing teams lose when they've been so good for so long. We've talked about that before. Like we
the Patriots.
The Patriots. Yeah. Like, you know, I'm an Alabama fan, so when they were their dynasty, and to a degree they still kind of are a dynasty, people want them to lose. They want to hate them because we want to see new things. So it in that sense, it's kind of fun to see them falter a little bit.
And then we got one. Well, Seattle's still in it. There's a chance that they can make it. But the big story that basically dropped yesterday, something we were chatting about right before this started up. Who would have thought Russell Wilson would be the hero or not a hero, that's the wrong word, but all of a sudden everybody's team Russ in the last 24 hours. Like, wow, what a season. Not good. Not good at all. So, Steve, you kind of explained this to me a little bit better because I think I was a bit confused. So, basically, he's got his 37 guaranteed this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then if he's got in his contract, if he's injured, then he gets is it $39 million, I think, that he gets through like some kind of clause in his contract if he's injured. Is that right?
That's how I understood it, because I was confused at first too. I think a lot of people, when you're reading it, you're like, oh, are they just going to cut him and that's how they're saving the money? But they're not cutting him to save the money. I think, and I'll do a little digging into this, but what I understand is he has an injury guarantee in his contract where if he gets injured playing, then he's guaranteed like this 39 million dollars if he's unable to pass a physical when March hits. So they're kind of basically banking on the fact that, like, well, we're going to sit you for this. Now, I get that part from an organizational standpoint, but this will be an interesting one for Ted to talk about, because what Ryan and I were talking about in the pregame before Ted jumped on was creating kind of like this loser culture, right? You've got a team who is 7-8. They're one game behind a playoff spot. You have invested so much draft capital and players and money to Russell Wilson. And then you're looking at all the guys in the locker room and that fan base and saying, you know, we are going to sit him to save ourselves potential cap money. And I could even understand this if Russ was just garbage, but he's putting up a pretty damn good season right now. And I'm just kind of interested because Ted, you know, it's no secret being a Browns fan that they had like a losing culture for so long. How do you explain this one to fans and to your teammates and everybody in the organization, saying, well, you know what, like, anybody who has, you know, clause multipliers or like, you know, contract, you know, things, we're going to sit you to save ourselves money in the future. That's the way we do business. Who in the hell is going to want to play for that team?
It's like the Oakland Athletics,
Yeah.
or Kansas City Royals of the day.
Yeah, like if we start... Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say, like, isn't the whole point in professional sports to win?
You play to win the game. I mean, could it not be say any better than that? Like, honestly, that quote is timeless for a reason, right? I mean,
multiple reasons.
Well, I mean that because it's hilarious, but it's also right. It's 100% correct as well, right? I mean, so yeah, I mean, if I'm the Broncos, I'm hoping that, you know, Jared Stedham somehow figures it out and they can game plan. This a brilliant coach there still, right? So they're still, we know now what teams can do with, you know, backup quarterbacks. Essentially, you can still win games. Cleveland's proved that this year, so it's not out of it yet. And I think the fan base probably like loathes the fact that they're taking Russ out, even though they were not Team Russ to start the season. But he's looked solid. I mean, they've found a way to get the most out of Russ. I mean, it says here, like, it has everything to do with the fact that he has an injury guarantee for $37 million for 2025 that would kick in if he were to suffer any sort of injury over the next 2 weeks. That would prevent him from passing a physical. So what they're trying to do by this is free up roster and cap space flexibilities like down the road versus how it can impact him like currently and right now. But this team is good enough to win football games now. Like, this should be a team that's in the playoffs. And Steve, I think you're 100% right. We've seen this with the Edmonton Oilers for years and years.
Yeah.
When you breed a losing culture, the teams and the players that are coming up in that losing culture teach the losing culture, and it's systemic. Really, it is. And it's so, I mean, I feel like as a Browns fan, I know this better than most. It takes years to get out of it, right? I mean, and one bad player can come in and treat it like a cancer and come back. And a lot of that started back with guys like Jarvis Landry coming in and putting up higher expectations. And it's been a slow burn, and it's been this many years for them to shed all of that. And that doesn't come lightly. It's not usually a thing, and it can be, but it's not usually a thing that gets turned around instantly. And it's for good reason. It's tough to shake a losing vibe and a losing culture from players, because you can't turn over that huge of a roster just like that. It doesn't happen that easily. So yeah, I don't like this move at all. If I'm a Broncos fan, I think you're that close. You're right, Steve. You're so close to making the playoffs. Why are we doing this? Why is this even a question?
And the fact, so I guess the other part of this too that I saw that they had brought this up to him in October about this whole thing that they were going to be benching him at some point, and he's been playing the way he's been playing since October, knowing that he's going to get benched at some point. Like Russ has, I think, 27 touchdowns this year. That's pretty good. That's pretty good for any quarterback, let alone like
That's a solid season.
That's a really good season. So all of a sudden you're going to say like, yeah, I think the Russ experiment is done. Like sometimes, like, isn't this one of those times where you think like maybe we were wrong at the beginning, maybe we need to eat our words a little bit and maybe let this thing play out because we've already given up too much. Like the last season was, I mean, that was really unfortunate if you're the Denver Broncos to give up what you gave up and it ends up being a phenomenal first round pick to Seattle, let alone Seattle making the playoffs and, getting the picks that they did. But now you go into this season and think like, okay, like sure, what's happened last year. But now, we actually maybe do have a pretty good quarterback in Russ and he's slinging and we had a bad start and maybe it was just, a rocky start with coach and quarterback, which I mean, those are the big two pieces. And now things are kind of figured out. I mean, you don't have to like Sean Payton through the NFL, but he is a pretty good coach. And I mean, if they've turned around this Broncos team that were kind of the laughing stock of the league for the first 6 weeks, and now you look at where they're at, like they might actually make the playoffs. I mean, don't you want to? I mean, let's ride. Like, don't you want to kind of ride with what you've got? Like, don't you? I would think you do. I don't know.
I always thought that this team was mega talented last year. I think they had all the pieces. I think they needed some continuity together. I don't know that Sean Payton is as great as what everyone's making him seem to be. The one really interesting point, though, and I saw this on Twitter earlier today, was there's that one clip where Russ comes back to the bench and he's kind of just like staring straight ahead while Sean Payton is just screaming at him, like red in the face, just giving him the gears. And I think the comment was something along the lines of, this clip has so much more context to it now because like clearly that was around the time where they were like, look, this is gonna happen, and he's just screaming at him, and Russ is like, just he don't give anything to Sean Payton anymore because he knows how this thing is going to unfold. It's going to be really interesting. Russ is going to dominate another offseason talks.
I have a question. Like, why did they have this conversation with him back in October? Is that because you think your team isn't going to make the playoffs and then they will themselves into a playoff position? Now you feel like you have to stick to this conversation? Like, wouldn't it be like, we'll see how it goes thing? Like, the team has 3 wins. Russ, we're benching you. Makes a lot more sense versus the team is a win away from getting in. Like, Russ, you're in.
I think they played their cards all on the table and they weren't willing to pick them up. Be like, oh shoot, it wasn't my turn yet.
Right, but did they play their cards on the table because they didn't think they had a playoff caliber team? Because I think that they do. Like, I think they're right there.
They do.
Let's say, like, let's play a little devil's advocate just for the hell of it and say that they do have a playoff team.
You can't devil's advocate my devil's advocate.
Yeah.
That's
if you make one mistake, our buddy Kyle, who I'm in the fantasy football finals against.
Yeah. That's great. Good for you.
He always says this the best. Why double down on a losing mentality, right? It's that kind of idea where if you draft a guy in the second round of your fantasy football team and he's a dud, why keep holding on to him just because you invested a second round pick into him? Right? It's kind of like this conversation like, hey, Russ, we're probably not a playoff team. We're going to probably sit you with, 3, 4, 2 games left just to give you the heads up. You know what? I can actually respect an organization for giving a guy the heads up instead of blindsiding him. But like Ted said, if you're a playoff team, why are you doubling down on a mistake?
Right.
Hey, Russ, guess what? We are playing above what we thought we were. You are balling out. I know we had talked about this, but we want to get into the playoffs, and you're the driver of the bus. Like, this offense runs with you because you're playing so well.
This is a classic Sharks thing with Willie Beeman, really. Same kind of thing, right?
I mean, we just saw. I can't remember who's going in instead of Sam Howell, but clearly the Commanders are out, right? And this is the time where you start to look at all of the players on your roster for next year. You talent evaluate. You see what you have in the young guys.
Who's playing for a contract?
You're playing for contracts, but that's not the case here. I don't know that we've ever seen a bubble team where it's like, no, you know what? We said this a couple months ago. So like, you can call us a lot of things. You just can't call us liars. Like Bud, nobody's calling you a liar. Like, we're calling you stupid, not a liar. Like, just
you can
very different. You
can rebound from stupid
things.
Yeah, the doubling down thing, right? I mean, we had Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns get into a playoff game. The very next year, wheels fall off Baker for whatever reason, many different reasons, some injury issues, all that type of stuff. But I think at that point, the franchise knew that this wasn't the guy. And you can criticize them all you want for the choice that they made on the guy to replace him. But they identified that this wasn't the guy, and they salted it away. And there was a lot of criticism that happened for it and moved on to the next step. Now, it's good that they didn't double down in this sense, in my opinion, because I think you probably try to get yourself onto it and you have conviction in just moving on. But that wasn't something that was close to being a playoff team like Denver was. So, yeah, I mean, just it's a wacky situation for sure.
Should we just let him stew and just sit there?
Stew frozen. There
Yeah, we're just gonna hold him in the queue for a bit. Like, how long can he last before he gets mad?
You're going to be in backstage for as long as we want to give you a timeout, actually.
Yeah, and I have the control. So what are you going to do about it?
Might I add that I actually just on that point of them letting Baker go and like Deshaun Watson and all this junk, just thank everything that is good in football that I can cheer for a guy like Joe Flacco and not have to cheer for a guy like Deshaun Watson. Right now. Thank everything. Thank everything. I didn't know that it was going to happen like this, but man, am I thankful. Woo.
Yeah, your season changed. That's for sure.
Wow. Yeah.
Still not happy about Amari Cooper, but whatever. That's fine. I'll just be the number one scoring team again this week in the third place game, knowing rightfully that I should be the championship team. No big deal. No big
talk
deal.
Talk to me when you're the highest scoring team in the league and also undefeated, and then you lose in the final.
Yeah, that would suck.
Oh my goodness. Ryan's always making stuff up on this show.
Do you want to? I got the receipts, man.
Well, first of all, you weren't the highest scoring team last week.
Not. Oh, I was the third highest scoring team. That's a different league.
Oh, you're talking about a different league. Okay.
Yeah. I was the third highest scoring league. Like, it sucks. If I would have made the playoffs, I'd be playing you this week.
Well, okay. If we really want to talk about things that suck, the team who scored the most points last week was Andrew from our league. The
perennial sucky team.
Perennial sucky team. He barely.
We love you, Andrew. Sorry.
No, he was fully aware of this. He's like, I'm playing for the first overall pick this year. Somehow he squeaks in and he's like, damn it, how am I going to do this? Then he goes on to play, I think, it was Kyle's team. And I was like, okay, you've been like really, he's working, as a teacher, he's working as a bartender. His schedule is just everywhere. And I go, okay, you're in the playoffs, but you have to set an alarm to check your team. Like,
and he didn't start. Yeah.
And he set himself an alarm. This is where it gets really funny. We had a conversation about, I'm like, dude, you got to set an alarm in case Christian Watson doesn't play, but you want him in there because he's one of your big guys, right? And I said, if he doesn't start, throw Noah Brown in. And he goes, that's what I'm planning on doing. I have an alarm. We talked about it. I've got the receipts. I don't need to, I hate that idea of like, here's my receipt. Anyways, Andrew loses by about 8.5 points, 0 out of Christian Watson. Noah Brown goes off for 14.2.
Mm-hmm.
So he would be in last week. Last week, he would have played Spencer, and Andrew was the highest scoring team. So he would be in the finals playing off against me right now. He had his alarm go off. I guess he was like doing like some family things, and he thought it was like an alarm to wake up. So he just discarded it and forgot about what it actually was. And
Oh,
I am
man.
like, I see that he has it in there, and you know, sometimes you can see it's like Andrew has notifications silenced, and I'm like,
Yeah. No.
hit him anyways. Like, you know, the button that comes up, and
Yeah.
you're like, I don't care, like tag him anyway. So I'm just like smashing. I'm like, dude, you've got 2 minutes to get this in. Like, get it in. He missed it. So that's his fun fantasy football blunder.
It's the worst. I mean,
That's what happens when you don't make the playoffs every year. You just forget about it.
yeah, see loser mentality.
Loser
really.
mentality, yeah.
Loser mentality.
So
Like,
yeah,
it's not
It's
fair.
not low-hanging fruit.
I had
It's
a
unfair
tough,
to Andrew, yeah.
I had a tough one last week. And then we'll get into THNO here. So I knew full well that I had an uphill battle to go last week because he had who did he have? Stafford, and he had a handful of he had Mike Evans go off. He had a bunch of guys just. I'm looking. I think he had like 71 points before I'd even had one guy play. So he was already having a big week, and I'm thinking like I'm not gonna even know if I even have a shot until the last game of Monday Night Football, which is on Christmas. I'm like, that's when we're all eating dinner. My brother-in-law is like, I told him like, here's what's going on. And I think who had gone off already in that game or right before. I basically thought I was like, I'm gonna lose. I need like almost a miracle to make this happen. I had Lamar, I had Zay, I had the Ravens defense, and I had McCaffrey. And I'm like, if they all go off on the way they've been for most of the season, I've got a shot. And I'm thinking, but if McCaffrey goes off, that means the Ravens defense doesn't. And I'm putting all these scenarios in my head. So I'm looking, I'm like, whatever. I know I lost. And so he's just looking at me. So I look at my phone after the game and I'm like, I lost by 29 points, which is a lot. That being said, he did have Amari and he had like 48 or 49 points. I'm like, if he had a normal, really good week of any other player, like 20 points would have been a great week. I would have made it. And I'm just looking, I'm like, every guy did everything. Like, of all the weeks, I was like, okay, I had against Ted. I was freaking out when I played Ted. And I'm thinking, if I squeak past him, I should be okay. Because, you know, go figure, it's the guy that, you know, just makes the playoffs and he takes out one of the juggernaut teams. That happens all the time. So I got past Ted somehow, even though that was like one of the lowest scoring weeks like of the season. And then I'm thinking like, okay, I just need all my guys. Derrick Henry has like a rushing TD and a passing TD. Bajan has a pretty good game. Tyler Lockett even came back out of nowhere. That was kind of nice. Everybody did their job, and one guy changed absolutely. Like, again, I don't know where he ranks as like top fantasy performances of all time, but that's got to be like close to top 10.
No,
Probably
you
don't think so? For 49 points?
Yardage-wise, it's massive, but
Yeah.
not points. Not enough TDs.
You got to think. I think Raheem Mostert had like 4 touchdown games somewhere in the season. Like it's a blowout. It's the part when we say we have a love-hate relationship with fantasy football. That's the hate. That is literally the hate right there. Like last week, you know, in our league, I've kind of gone all in this year, right? I screenshot my matchup to one of our buddies, and he was like, "Are you playing in an 8-team league? Like, how do you have all of those players?" Well, it was because I've sold everything to get these players.
Yeah.
And so last week, I'm playing against Stafford. I'm playing against DeMarcus Robinson and Gabe Davis. That's the Thursday matchup, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm literally going through what Ted went through. Ted had a 14-0 season. No, it would have been 13-0 because that was before they had the extra game. So I'm 13-1 this season. I get the bye. I play a team. And of course, DeMarcus Robinson would go off for 82 and a touchdown. Gabe Davis goes off for 130 and a touchdown. Stafford's doing Stafford things. And I'm like, okay, I'm done. I've lost. This is the part of fantasy football that drives me insane. You can do everything in your power to assemble a super team. And then you can have DeMarcus Robinson ruin it in one night. You can have Amari Cooper literally ruin it, right?
Oh, I was heartbroken. I looked and I was like, that's it. I'm done. Because and this was Ted and I had this chat. I said, I need to have 2 guys that even if 2 other guys have a bad game, I've got backups to make up for the points lost. And all of those guys hit. It just happened that one guy doubled up on 3 of my players, which is it was so, and like, you have to laugh because I've been talking about this all season, thinking like I'm the number 1 seed, I'm going in, and I wasn't trying to be cocky because I've never had that good of a team, and I'm like, okay, don't get too cute because you know what happens. And then out of nowhere, the freaking Cleveland Browns break my heart. So, I mean, in real life, I mean, Teddy's just jacked because his team is lighting it up at the right time. And who knows, maybe the Browns go on a playoff run. Wouldn't that be something? But
Well, it would be.
It's a heartbreaking game to play. And then in the other league, I'm playing our buddy Darren for the first overall pick. So at the very least, I'm guaranteed the second pick for 2 years in a row. But it's awful, man. Like, now I get it. Like, if I ever do win one of these fantasy football championships I hear so much about, like, I'm pretty sure, like, I told my wife, I'm like, we are going to go out for a night at a hotel and we're going to have fancy dinner and I'm buying a fantasy football championship.
How big do you think this prize pack's going to be?
Wasn't it like $500 or $600? Yeah, it'll be gone.
How much a hotel room costs nowadays?
Yeah, exactly.
Plus food? Oh my God, you're selling yourself up
the
the
food
creek
I
here,
can
bud.
afford. I can afford the meal.
You better not be promising her that now.
Yeah, no, she knows I'm out, so it's fine. That's what it's like to be married. Sometimes you have to live through some disappointments. So, let's get into the main part of the show. Brought to you by Kelly O'Brien. So we got to get to 104 followers, folks, on our THNO account on Twitter. Shouldn't be too hard. It's 10 followers. That's all we need. But without further ado, 10 more followers. That's right. Yeah, we don't want just 10 because that would suck. Our friend of the show, Joshua Griffith, got his gift card this past week and a THNO sticker. So
nice, dude.
Appreciate it. Yeah, super guy, follows our other show as well. But without further ado, let's get to... Wrong one. THNO Stars with our boy Jody. He's been having a pretty good non-playing season. Seems to be doing well in the socials, hanging out, doing some cool things.
Is he?
I mean, on Instagram, it looks like it anyway. So good for him. I don't even know what your write-up's going to be, Steve, but I did give you this one, hoping that you would do me proud on this one. Who is your THNO for? This is by the way, these are our last THNO picks. I'm hoping to do our award show next week, and then we're officially done this portion of our show.
We have to find a way to name some like sort of THNO MVP here, I feel like.
So, but anyway, Steve.
Well, I'm glad you guys are coming. I'm glad you guys are coming this way first because this might be the best THNO.
The best THNO of all time.
Wow. It's amazing that you can one-up yourself every week.
I'm not trying to be arrogant here, so I said of this season, but you're probably right, Ted. It probably is of all time. Look, guys.
At least makes me cough. Fuck.
You're humble.
It's not very often that we get a player who has the pedigree of my THNO pick. This is a Juno-nominated person.
Whoa, wow.
TCMA Male Artist of the Year, Fan Choice Award, also a 6th round pick of the Vancouver Canucks. I have seen this guy live at the Community Theater here in Kelowna. This is none other than hold on a second.
No, that's a different guy. You're thinking of a different guy.
Totally different guy. I've never heard of this guy who's my THNO. His name's Jason Brownlee.
Is it Jason Brownlee? I thought it was Derek Brownlee.
Jason Brownlee. Jets wide receiver, rookie wide receiver. I've never heard of him. He came out of nowhere. He's barely played in half the games. I don't even know what this touchdown looks like because I was thinking of the wrong guy.
I suppose it's my duty now to roll the clip.
Ex-Canuck draft pick.
It has been ugly. Simeon on a cross over the middle. It's caught. Jason Brownlee. A Sunday stroll into the end zone.
Yeah, that's definitely not the same guy I was thinking of earlier here.
Man, can I guitar though?
Slight difference. Both professional athletes, though. You got to give me a little bit of credit there.
I'll give it to you. That was I was hoping you would do that one right, and you did. So thank you for living up to. Again, I don't think that was the greatest THNO of all time or this season. But
most of the fans on the show think that, though.
I do like the write up you gave. So A for effort. 10 out of 10, but not 11 out of 10.
Okay, fair.
Ted, who you got, buddy?
I'm going with Ronnie Bell, my friend, your friend, everybody's friend. Ronnie Bell, the rookie, scored way back in week 3, and since then he's only been involved in 11 games. So, is it possible that this could be the best THNO of the year? Probably
Oh, I
not,
think it's
but
possible.
we'll go with it.
Okay.
But Mr. Bell made it into the starting lineup on Monday Night Football, and as we know, that does some strange things. So there's a lot of guys that could have got the ball on this one. We know all the big names that survive out there in San Francisco, but at the end of the day, he gets in for 3 plays. That's it, 3 plays, and wouldn't you know it, one of them winds up being a 12-yard strike to score. And the classic THNO stat line: 1 target, 1 reception, 1 TD, and the big boy gets in, and it's history. Roll that clip, buddy.
The former Jet fires, end zone touchdown to Ronnie Bell. And the rookie has got his first touchdown in the NFL.
So many firsts this year. So many firsts.
That was a great catch.
Darnold's got a fun beard going on. That's fun.
Yeah.
Facial hair. Who knew?
Yeah. There you go. Sam Darnold's big. He's the THNO of the year. It's the THNO beard of the year.
Yeah.
Checks not an award, but makes award for this now new award.
Yeah. That's probably going to make it into like that might make it into some sort of clip, like the Taylor Lewan thing or something. Like could be like Darnold's beard, right? I mean, we might have
imagine Eric Weddle has a podcast and he throws that out as like his like feature segment, like, oh, and Weddle's no beard or something like that, and just starts roasting Sam Darnold. That'd be great.
The Wizards, Wizards and Weddle. I don't know.
Wizards and Weddle.
Yeah.
Great fantasy football team name.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep that for next year.
Could really be onto something there. Wizards and Weddle. Love that.
What just happened there?
I was just gonna bring up Sam's beard because we're all talking about it. So
hey now.
There's lots of chin and neck there. There's a lot happening.
Yeah.
That's
you need
fun.
both. You need both.
That's fun.
You definitely want to have.
It looks better when he's throwing touchdowns, and you're like, "Who is that? Oh, that's Sam. Okay,
right.
cool.
Sam Darnold. Well, shit.
Speaking of THNO,
Yeah. Oh my god.
Would you look at that?
Yeah.
Could have had Joe, kept Sam Darnold.
Yeah. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Not me.
Not Joe Flacco.
Not Joe Flacco. Okay. Here's mine. You guys all know the story. Canadian kids growing up in the 90s want one thing for Christmas. The Easton.
Chad Brownlee?
No.
Rocco's Knock'em Robots.
Okay, so 2 things, but mostly this thing. The Easton aluminum hockey stick. Maybe you got the cool silver one. Or there was a black and purple one. I had that one. And there was even a gold one. I hear Wayne Gretzky even had a cool glow-in-the-dark one. That's yet to be seen at day of light, but who knows? Fast forward to 2023, and it's Christmas time again. And what do we get a few days before the big day? How about an Austin Eckler goal line tutty? Nope. How about maybe a shared TD with Joshua Palmer? Wrong again. How about a freaking Easton stick rushing TD, vulturing every single fantasy football team in existence? We're talking about 3% owned, 1% started. That has to be a desperation start, like maybe gunpoint. Sadly, it's not 1994, so this Easton stick truly helps no one. I'm telling you guys, I really didn't even want, but I mean, when Easton stick makes the THNO show, you gotta see what's up. Let's roll that clip.
Stick. Design run. In for the touchdown. Easton stick.
You know, all the guys in the 14-team league with the 2 quarterback starters are just loving life right now. They're just loving it.
So I think I've had, I don't know if it's been me personally or if we've just had 2 of these, but every time a Charger has been on THNO, it's been in the Powder Blues.
There's a fun fact for you.
Just almost as fun as Sam Darnold's beard.
Wizards and Weddle, right? Oh my gosh.
You know what? I hate the playoffs or fantasy football playoffs for this exact reason, because no time does a THNO hurt more than in the playoffs, right? Like when you've got Eckler and you're like, okay, he hasn't been the Eckler that, has carried me in seasons before, but guess what? He's Eckler, so he should put up a rushing touchdown at minimum. He's going to catch some passes in the flats. He's going to run. He's going to get me 10 minimum, right? If he has a bad Eckler game, he'll have 40 all-purpose yards and a touchdown. Give me a break. And then, you watch an actual designed run to Easton Stick and you're like, Austin Eckler could do that and he's on my fantasy team. And you're just like, what? Yeah, lots of broken remotes, I feel like, start to happen at this time of the year. So save those gift cards.
He didn't even L2 stiff arm on that play.
He didn't have to.
But it just, at least like make it a video game play where we can have a little bit of fun. No. Just a little cash run in.
Like he probably could have made a big name for himself if he would have done like some fun predetermined touchdown celebration and called it the stick, right?
Mhm.
Like, like Kirk Cousins, like
If he just like went stiff and just fell over, like that would have been so great.
Yeah, something like that, right? Like
Shaped up like an L.
Like you could get a trademark saying or something that kind of catapults you. Really disappointed that he kind of was just like, yeah, okay, boys, yeah, I scored a touchdown.
Yeah.
Like
that would have been his big shot. Could have done like a big slap shot in the end zone or something like that. I mean,
that's what he should
there's
have
lots
done.
of things he could have did there.
That's what he should have done.
Imagine he pulled out the mini stick from his socks and like played.
He doesn't get paid enough to get fined though.
Someone's gonna cover that for him, right?
Ocho Cinco's like, I got you.
Someone's got to cover that for him to have. You know what? I really hope this comes to fruition, and just so everybody knows, you heard it here first on That Helps No One Fantasy Cast.
You know what's even funnier, Steve? The fact that you think he's going to be good enough to get another touchdown that he actually has a prop waiting for him in the end zone.
Ooh, are we going to have a friendly little bet here that Easton Stick gets a touchdown himself over the next 2 games?
A design play rushing touchdown? Because he's going to have the prop in the end zone. He's going to have to score it himself on foot, right?
Okay, so you said they've got the Chiefs to finish the season? And then who did they play?
You are on record saying that the Chiefs would get smashed. So it's like a good opportunity for you to just lean into that.
I said
no. He said the Chargers were going to get smashed.
No. You said the Chiefs were going to get smashed.
No.
Oh, I didn't.
Ryan said the Chiefs were going to get smashed.
No, I didn't.
No.
Or did you say they were going to get smashed in the playoffs?
No, he said that the Chiefs were going to.
I'm talking about you. You said the Chiefs were going to get smashed in the playoffs at the start of the show. Did you not?
No.
Oh. Okay.
No, I didn't.
Sorry.
I mean, okay, but no, I didn't.
My bad.
Jeez.
Okay.
You know what? Like, we get it. Your team's in the playoffs. Like, you're hearing some things right now. You're living on cloud 9. We get it. We get it.
I thought you had said, man, they're looking human. The Chiefs, they're going to get smashed in the playoffs. And I'm like, I don't know about that. That's
I said
still
the
a
Chiefs.
well-coached
You
team.
just said the Chargers.
Oh, I meant to say the Chiefs. That fucks this whole thing up. Sorry.
It really does. Yeah, because now I'm really messed up. Those are 2 different things.
So, yeah, you thought the Chiefs were going to get smashed in the playoffs.
Yes.
I'm saying now's a good opportunity for you to just leave into that Chiefs hate and take the Chargers with the design Easton Stick run is where I'm going with this.
Wow.
You played that slowly and you managed to save yourself.
The slowest burn of all time.
That is really slow. Yeah, it's just like Ember, like, oh, no, the campfire's still going, you guys.
I didn't realize that I said Chargers there. My bad.
That's okay. I still love you. So I'm going to look because I still have Keenan Allen. Denver.
So they have Denver, good run defense, and they've got the Chiefs, good defense. I still think it's 2 games. Now, if his first touchdown, he has nothing predetermined, chances are he's going to have nothing predetermined should he score again, which would make this a moot point. I feel like we could see another Easton Stick rushing touchdown.
Okay, I'm interested to see.
Ryan's going to look at numbers.
I'm just looking at all of his stats here. I'm just checking it all out.
Rain Man it over here.
Yeah.
I don't watch enough Chiefs games to know whether he gets designed looks in the end zone, what the scramble looks like. I just saw a guy that ran to the outside faster than other guys could get there. Like he's got enough athleticism if they get down to the 1 that maybe they do like don't know, some 14 personnel or something, all these tight ends all over the place, and they seal the edge and Easton Stick gets out for another touchdown. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
And then we're going to get the mini sticks out, and
that would be an incredible prop to do. Like I said, I just don't think he makes enough money for it to be ballsy enough to have the mini sticks out there.
No, he won't do it, but he should.
I mean, if Antonio Gates came out of nowhere and handed him a mini stick, and they,
my goodness,
wouldn't that just be like the ultimate?
I'm going to the Hall of Fame. This solidifies it, boys.
Wouldn't that be something? It's just like, is he? This isn't even a hockey city. Like, doesn't matter, man. This is what we're doing. Like, he just goes to the San Diego Gulls and like, hey guys, I know we're not in the same city anymore, but I need to borrow some stuff. Like, you could just buy a stick at your wall.
I'm going to throw one more thing out there just in case it ever happens. It's like on record, like a live show that I've said this before it happens. If he does it and Antonio Gates comes out with a hockey stick and it has HOF, like Hall of Fame, all over it to like drum up a little like extra like talk around his name for Hall of Fame, wouldn't that be something? I would put him in right then and there. Just give him the gold jacket on the field and be like, you got this.
You're giving a lot of credit to Easton Stick at this point. You're making him way too much of a thing, unfortunately. But I like where your head's at. That's good. You guys, this pretty much wraps up, the season part of THNO. This is season 3. It's been a good one. We've had some blips. I mean, Ted was. I don't remember where Ted was. Chris was in Disneyland and playing soccer, and Steve and I just ran the table for a little bit. That was a lot of fun.
Great job.
But next week is the award show. It'll probably be Wednesday or Thursday again because, people are likely going back. Oh no, you're still off next week, aren't you, Steve?
I'm off.
We'll see. We will have a show next week. We'll have our award show. And Steve, I think you're the reigning best advisor, are you not?
Yeah, so I will be bringing my shirt and tie, and I'll have an acceptance speech ready, obviously. So
if you guys could dress up, that'd be great. Like a bow tie or a tie or something, that'd be nice.
Nice, like clean shaven, everybody.
I don't care. No, you don't have to do that, but like something dressy.
Well, look at you going half-ass into things.
Well, I got a bow tie. I got a new bow tie.
Let's not really dress up. Okay.
I got a nice bow tie I want to try out. So,
of course you do.
I do. It's wood. It's pretty awesome.
You don't just have one bow tie. I would guess.
I have a couple.
You've got at least half a dozen bow ties.
No, that's not true. I have like 3.
He's got half of a half dozen.
Half of a dozen. Yeah, half. That's a half. Yeah. What's
a quarter, half of a half.
It's
Samsonite was
way
off.
Like a half PPR. Like, how do you split the split? Like, you never want to see that.
It's just half a bow tie hanging off.
Yeah,
my dog ate the other half of it.
Yeah, what is that? I don't even know. So next week, you guys definitely want to tune in for our award show. We're hoping to have one more show in the off season. We'll keep you posted on that one. So we're figuring out the logistics on that one. So we kind of need the actual season to be over first. So any final words, Steve? Obviously, you're going to play for the boat this weekend. Sincerely wish you best of luck.
You know what? I just have to say, don't tinker with your lineups. I think
this was your advice to me last.
You can't afford to.
Yeah, you can't afford. Fun fact: I sat Jerome Ford today because, it made a lot of sense to. He went off. My number one rule is don't tinker with your lineups. Don't overthink it. Set them, stick with it. Play the guys that got you there. Play your workhorses. If you lose because DeMarcus Robinson goes off, you can't predict that. If you lose because you sit Jerome Ford and 24 points are sitting on your bench, I will say shame on me if it comes down to that. Let's hope it doesn't. Best of luck in your finals.
I thought you had new best advice, which is live and die by the pro. Or live and die by the expert, which I was.
That's right. Yeah,
that also makes sense too. Yeah,
you went against the expert. Or you went with the expert.
Let's. I consulted an expert, and this expert is an expert, is a pro's pro. Really good advice. It was kind of why I even asked the question in the first place. The idea was the Browns want Joe Flacco to throw the ball because they haven't been running the ball, which is true. What a weird game. Anything can happen. Jerome Ford goes
You got Coopered.
Yeah.
You got Coopered.
Turns out that even the experts aren't psychic.
Yeah, you can't predict those types of things. I had Breece Hall. He had a really good day for me. So it lessened the blow that not all of my points are sitting on my bench. So don't overthink it. Don't tinker. Stick with it. Only change it in case of an injury. And you win, you win. If you don't, it'll happen again.
Keep your stick on the ice. That was weird. That was a weird roundabout way of doing it. Ted, any final words? Obviously, you're riding high tonight.
Yeah, just stoked right now. It's been a wacky year with like an unfathomable amount of injuries, which every team experiences this year. But it's been really fun this last umpteen weeks watching all these different quarterbacks come in and watching these coaches game plan for these specific players. And the seeing Joe Flacco do what he's doing is a lot of fun and reminiscent of the good old days, and watching him do stuff like unlock David Njoku and who knows what next. And another big injury tonight with Moore going down, so we'll see what the game planners do for next week, because they're going to have to change direction again. And it's been the identity of this team all year, so I'm excited to see how the rest of it goes.
There you go. Well, good luck in all of your championship teams this year, folks. It's almost over. Heartbreaking. Can't believe we're talking about fantasy football championships. That means football's getting close to the playoffs, which means football's almost over. I don't want football to be over. It's too early to be talking about that. But you know what? This is what we live for. So on behalf of a vacant Chris Phillips, I think he's under the weather. We got Steve, who's in the ship. We got Ted, whose team is in the actual NFL playoffs. And Ryan, who still hasn't picked a favorite team to cheer for. This is That Helps No One Fantasycast on Crier Media. Thank you so much for joining us. Come check us out next week on the award show.